Hello everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to Prairie Sports Talk, the podcast where we talk about sports that directly impact the Canadian Prairie. Today is April 4th, 2024 and it's been a busy week. Just across the board, WHL playoffs have been chaotic. The CFL has had some surprising free agent activity, something I wasn't expecting from this past week. And we've even got some rumors about an NFL player coming up to the CFL. But I don't think it's necessary for any CFL team, especially the team that has them on their negotiation lists. And then to close the show, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a personal update. Nothing overly concerning to anyone, but I just thought it might be worth talking about as well. So let's get into it. I am recording this episode on April 3rd, so by the time this episode goes up tomorrow, this next bit could be a bit outdated, but I want to talk about it anyway. The Swift Current Broncos and Lethbridge Hurricanes, they have had an unexpectedly lopsided series. The Broncos are walking into Game 4 tonight in Lethbridge up 3-0. I was not expecting this. I thought that, yes, it'd be maybe a 5 or 6 game series. It wouldn't be a 7 game series. But I thought that Game 3 was almost guaranteed for Lethbridge. They dropped it thanks to an insane performance from two players. Luke Misselbarco, who got a hat-trick in Lethbridge, and Reed Dick, who has just been absolutely insane all season long, and the playoffs have been no different. He kicked the playoffs off with an insane shutout. He played out of his mind that game, and just it was insane to watch. He had the whole crowd going. Unfortunately, I missed the next game. I had to work the next night, so I missed it. I followed it throughout my shift. Broncos managed to get an important comeback win. And then Tuesday, I went out with my father to watch the game at a local pizza place. Really fun game, had a decent-sized crowd. Swift Current. If you're looking for somewhere to watch the playoff games when they're on the road and you can't make it to that game, pay attention to the Swift Current Broncos Twitter page. They are always tweeting about these watch parties. Go check them out if you have the chance. They're incredibly fun to go to. I don't want to say it's the same atmosphere as a hockey game, but it's similar enough that it doesn't feel like you're in a restaurant. And then tonight, or as in Wednesday night, is Game 4. I'm going to be going back to the same restaurant tonight to watch the game with my dad again, but I'm not going to have a chance to make a proper update. I will include the update in the description down below about if the Broncos finish off the sweep or not. But I'm very excited to see how this series turns out because the Broncos have looked very good. Now, Lethbridge did start to look a bit better about midway through Game 3. I don't want to say they were quite on the same level as they were in Game 2, but they definitely were not the same team we saw in Game 1. The Canes looked a lot more like what I expected them to in Game 3, but I don't know, I feel like the Broncos are just going to be walking into Lethbridge tonight, hungry and ready to finish off the series. I know Lethbridge has literally nothing to lose tonight because if they do lose, well, that's their season. But I don't know, I just don't feel like no amount of motivation from Lethbridge will be enough to prevent the sweep at this point. Now, of course, I'm saying this and you guys already know how the series ended. Well, I don't. But I think my good friend Mitchell Cook put it best just before Game 1. When watching warm-ups, he said that he had not seen a hockey team this locked in since the 2018 Swift Current Broncos won the championship. I have been saying it since I started this podcast. I was even saying it before. This is a special Broncos team. I think they can and will do some serious damage in the playoffs. And don't be shocked if they make it not just to round 2, but maybe even round 3. And who knows, maybe even the Edge North Cup. Okay, so it is the next morning. This episode has to be live in less than 4 hours. But I feel like if I didn't talk about Game 4 last night, I'd be doing a massive disservice with this episode. Because Game 4, it has probably been the most interesting game in the series. So, it didn't start off the best for the Broncos. They gave up 3 goals in the first period, and they went down 3-0. Now, fortunately, Broncos got a bit of a fluky goal towards the end of the period where the puck actually went in off Josh Philman's jaw. Philman was okay for the record. And then a bit of a scrum ensued towards the end of the first period, and I thought for sure the Broncos were getting a penalty, but they didn't. So I was pretty happy about that. And that actually led to the Lethbridge Hurricanes taking a double minor to start the second. The double minor happened in the scrum at the end of the first, but that meant the Broncos would start the second period on a 4-minute power play with a fresh sheet of ice. It sounds like it's all coming up Broncos. They're coming off a goal, and now they got a double minor. 2 minutes into the double minor, Hurricanes do exactly what I said teams in the playoffs were going to do, and they provoked the Broncos to take a stupid penalty and ended up giving up the last 2 minutes of the 4-minute penalty and made it a 4-on-4. The Hurricanes would score on said 4-on-4. So, it was 4-1. Broncos clawed back a bit in that period. At the end of the period, it was 4-2. Headed into the third, it was kind of hard to tell who had momentum. It felt like the Broncos had some because they got the last goal, but at the same time, they're still down by 2. After a back and forth period for the first little bit, the Broncos got a goal, and then the tying goal came from Grayson Bozinski, who has been hurt now for a couple weeks, and he just returned last night. You gotta feel great for the kid. You really do. And then, as if it wasn't always stressful enough for both Lethbridge and Swift Current, we went to double overtime. This is not the first time the playoffs have gone to double overtime in this year for the WHL. And with how a lot of the series have gone, I don't think it will be the last. But fortunately, I believe it was 7 seconds into double overtime, who else but Connor Geekie got the game-winning goal for the Broncos. The Broncos beat the Hurricanes and advanced to the second round. We do not know who the opponent of the Broncos will be, but I feel like it was worth talking about last night's game regardless in this episode. So anyway, back to what I recorded yesterday. This is a very good team. Speaking of very good teams, one of those teams may not be as bulletproof as everyone thought. The Saskatoon Blades are not just the top team in the WHL, but they are the top team in the CHL. But they are not bulletproof. The PA Raiders, the 8th seed in the WHL, took Game 1 in Saskatoon. Now granted, Saskatoon took Game 2 and Game 3. But here's something interesting. Game 3 went to overtime. This is not something many people expected from round 1. Myself specifically, I expected this to be done in 4 games. I wasn't even fully convinced PA was going to even score a goal against Saskatoon. They have pushed Saskatoon to their limit so far. PA is either a lot better of a team than everyone thought, or Saskatoon just isn't as bulletproof as everyone thought. Now, granted, both things could be true, but here's the thing. I still think Saskatoon will win the series. I think it would likely be a 5-game series. But I wasn't fully convinced PA was even going to score in this series. So the fact that they won a game and they pushed game 3 to overtime is really, really shocking to me. Especially because I didn't think Saskatoon was going to have any issues through rounds 1 or 2. I thought that maybe they could struggle in round 3 if they ran into Moose Jaw or Swift Current. But the fact that they didn't sweep the Raiders, I think that's very, very noteworthy. I think every team in the WHL Playoffs has their eyes on this series right now. Even if they are more focused with their own series at the moment, they're still watching this. Because if you want to win the WHL Championship, you're almost definitely going to have to go through Saskatoon. So if you can pay attention to what PA has done in these first few games, and you can replicate exactly what they did in in game 1, and you can do that through 4 games against Saskatoon, guess what? Saskatoon's out and you're moving on. Saskatoon's not bulletproof. That is something everyone seems to have taken note of now. Massive props to PA for not just pushing this at least to a game 5 and pushing game 3 to overtime, but who knows, maybe by the time this video comes out tomorrow, PA could be back in the series. It could be knotted up at 2. I think this is a very interesting series, and if the Broncos take care of business in Lethbridge, I might be watching this series very closely going forward. Can't wait to see how it plays out. In CFL news, the Saskatchewan Roughriders made some moves with their receiving core. And in related news, I have decided what's going on my new Roughriders jersey. Samuel Emilus has been re-signed by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Granted, it's only for another year. I would have liked to see them sign this young star to a 2 or 3 season contract. But the fact he's sticking around at least another season is a very good sign. Emilus had a tremendous breakout season last year, and I expect a lot more of the same from him this season. I think the Riders are looking at their receiving core, and I think they gotta be feeling pretty good. And I think every other CFL team has gotta be looking at that same receiving core and not feeling very good. I don't care who your defensive secondary has. This is the best receiving core in the league. This is a receiving core with players like Schaefer Baker, with Lennius, Emilus, and then Picton, who in my opinion would be a superstar on any other team in the league. He's just an afterthought. Picton is a Saskatchewan kid, born and raised, and he has fit right in. He has fit right in with the Roughriders, and it has been very fun to watch his development over the last couple of seasons. Just like I think it's going to be very fun to watch Emilus's development over starting from last season, carrying into this season and beyond. Now, despite that re-signing, the Roughriders have continued to add to their receiving core, interestingly enough. The Roughriders have added, at very least to their negotiation list, Chase Claypool. I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, which is JACKYKNOBS, you've already seen my opinions on this. And I don't think this is a bad move for the Roughriders. I don't think it's necessary either, however. I think the Roughriders have the best receiving core in the league, like I just said. And I feel like they'll adding of Claypool to their negotiation list won't necessarily lead to a sign-in. And I think they basically have him on their negotiation list as a break glass in case of emergency kind of thing. Like, God forbid the Roughriders have a slew of injuries at receiver. Like, God forbid that. I'm a Rider fan. I can't do this again. I've gone through too many seasons with major players being injured out of nowhere and a potential tremendous season just being wiped from existence because of these injuries. I can't do this again. Don't let our receivers, our running back, or anyone else take any major injuries this season. I might scream. But anyway, I feel like if there is some major injuries on the team, Claypool being on the negotiation list would only come in if those injuries happen. So, say Emilus goes down, Lennius goes down, Schaefer Baker goes down. We still have some players who can make plays, but we don't have that big name playmaker that will draw the defense's attention away from our lesser known players. So I feel like if you bring in Claypool in that case, he can act as that big play guy even if he doesn't necessarily get the big plays. He can at least pose the threat. I don't think the Riders need it though. I really, really don't. I feel like the Riders have been burned too many times in the recent past by trying to sign former NFL stars and turn them into CFL stars. And I feel like they don't want to take that risk again with Claypool. Or at least they shouldn't want to. Like, remember when the Riders signed Trent Richardson and everyone said he'd be a superstar in the CFL? And he played one season. Remember when everyone said the exact same thing about Vince Young when the Riders signed him and he never even played a down? The Riders have been stung by supposed NFL stars looking for a second chance. I don't think that's something they want to take the risk on again, especially with how much hot water Jeremy O'Day is under. Like, O'Day, he knows this season his job is on the line. I thought it was last season, but it definitely is this year. If the Riders do not have a very good season this year, O'Day is likely gone. I respect Jeremy O'Day. I think he has done a lot of great things for this franchise. But I feel like if those great things don't start to re-manifest this season, it might be time for the Roughriders to move on from him as president. So that's why I don't think they'll bring in Claypool. They probably won't want to risk any continuity unless they absolutely have to. So Claypool being an unknown in the CFL could really bring in some less than known factors, to say the least. So if you follow me on Twitter, you've likely seen me talking about how I've had this lingering cough for the last few months and how it has gotten significantly worse in March. And that led to me not being able to make a lot of episodes in March and even having to skip the interview. I'm not happy about how much I missed. I'm not happy about the lack of an interview. But I had to do this to try and get through my health issues. I wouldn't say I'm at 100% yet, but I would say I'm about 75%. And that is a lot better, and it has allowed me to get back to my normal schedule, even if the schedule has had to change some, because I have started a brand new job as well. And just because of the schedule of the job, it leads to me working a lot on weekends and Mondays. And usually when I'm not working on weekends or Mondays, I'll be volunteering for the Broncos at very least until the end of the playoff run. And likely in the spring and summer, I'll be volunteering for the 57s as well. So all of that has led me to the decision that I need to move Prairie Sports Talk to Thursdays. Now, this does not change the interview schedule. I'm hoping to still get interviews out on the last day of a month. Now, I do not want to make a promise that I will get one out in April, though that is a goal for me this month. I feel like I am doing a lot better than I was in March, and I feel like that will start to show in the quality of my podcast and how active I am on various social medias again. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this rough month, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this podcast, for 13th Man Sports, and for myself. It is going to be a great journey, and I hope you guys join me on it. And as we continue down the road on this new journey, it is also time to end this episode, because that's everything I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, be sure to follow the 13th Man Podcast Network. If you want to follow me on Twitter, again, that is JACKYKNOBS. That is Jackie Knobs. I hope you guys had a great day. I hope you guys had a great week. Stay safe, stay strong, you got this. And this is Jackie for Prairie Sports Talk, signing off.